Hello, folks. So excited to be here. I'm here with my friend Katie Fox, and we're talking all today about social media for video people. Day one. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on, Katie. So how are you doing today?
Tons of people I am excited. I am so excited. Hi to everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. We are going to dive into all of the fun stuff. And Jeff is such a great person to do this because he's like awesome at all the social media, but also is an AI wizard. So if all of this feels really overwhelming, I'm going to be the voice of the people this week because all of this feels kind of overwhelming and a little bit big to me. So I'm going to ask all of my stupid questions. I hope all of you ask all of your stupid questions, and we'll all learn together.
Yeah, and so ask your questions as we're going in today because, you know, this is a very fluid workshop as we go. So if we're like, you guys really like, hey, more AI tools, hey, more of this, more of that, we will try to accommodate the best we can. So this is going to be a lot of fun. By the way, a little teaser for what's coming up in like day 2, 3, and 4. Just because Katie is here, I wanted to play something that I'm going to show you guys how to actually use some of these tools with. So here's the video really quick. And now. And now.
It's Katie Fox, hooray! She helps creators find their way. Come together, don't delay. It's Katie Fox today.
So that is...
Everyone should have a theme song.
That's right.
Have a theme song.
So we're going to be showing you guys later on in the week how we do that, what tools I use. That was all done with AI. So kind of a fun thing I've been doing on my Friday show. But Katie, what else do we got going on? We've got a worksheet that I'm going to show in the link to, and I know Paul's going to do that in the comments. Anything else we need to kind of... We're kicking off the show.
Yeah, so a little bit of housekeeping. If you get just like a notification on one of our YouTube channels and you just ended up here, make sure that you're registered for this workshop. It's completely free. We promise we're not going to spam you or give you anything you don't want. But this workshop does include some incredible bonuses that Jeff is mentioning. So there's a worksheet. There's some additional like toolboxes and things with all the information that you need to actually be successful here. So make sure you're registered for the workshop. There is a giveaway that we are running all week long. So we will make sure that we share the giveaway link, but be sure to enter the giveaway because there's some fun prizes in there that hopefully make it an exciting experience for everyone. And at the end of each of these sessions, we're going to be giving you a secret word, but you have to be here live for it because we're going to delete that secret word afterwards. So you're live for it. That will give you some additional points for the giveaway. So lots of fun stuff happening this week. But as Jeff said, this is a really, hopefully a casual, super helpful workshop. So definitely keep those questions coming. We will be here all week. So Tuesday through Friday, and then Friday, 2 sessions. So the final kind of live session, and then everyone who's registered. So again, you need to be registered. We will give you access into a Zoom meeting, which will be kind of part hot seat. So if anyone wants to volunteer, we can help answer all your questions and go through all of your stuff. And then part Q&A. So lots of incredible stuff. We're hitting the ground running. We're like, fall, let's get this done.
You don't have a pumpkin spice there, do you? You don't have a
pumpkin. I have my pumpkin spice. Yeah.
Pumpkin is not a spice, folks. I'm just telling you. Now the comments are going to blow up. All right. So I'm going to head and get started because we're talking about today, day one, we're talking about really the planning, like how to plan like a pro. We're doing social strategy for video creators. So Katie's all about strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and just go right into the slides. By the way, I'm going to tell you kind of the behind the scenes thing for this. I used an AI tool to create these slides that I've never done before. So it was a little nerve wracking, but it's called Gamma. I know a lot of you guys know about it. Some of you don't, but I was able to pretty much put my, my outline inside of Gamma, and it helped me create all these slides. I went back in and changed the artwork because I'm a MidJourney nerd and I wanted to have some of that stuff to match my brand. But it's really, really fast. So if you haven't checked it out, we're going to probably mention that in some of the tools later on. But really, really like Gamma. So this is what it looks like, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and Katie's going to pop in, and I can actually pop in if I need to right here as we're going. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about Video Creator's Guide to Social Media and AI, and today is all about the planning because, you know, it does take a strategic approach with everything going on, with all the new AI stuff that's going on. It can really help you transform that creator journey to being something that is sustainable. So this is going to be the work that's going to help you kind of build that foundation, that's going to align with your goals and then help you with your video content across all of the platforms. So this is kind of what we're going to talk. Right now we're in the welcome and overview. We're going to talk about how to set some clear goals for your strategy with your content and some objectives around that. We're going to dive into understanding your audience, which is really key. I wish I actually did this way earlier than I actually started to do it. So if you're behind, don't worry. This is a great kind of refresher for that. We're going to be talking about a content flywheel, what that means, how to create one that builds a system that continues to grow and build momentum as you kind of follow the steps behind that. And then we'll talk about some planning and scheduling tools. What I use personally, Katie, I'm sure is going to chime in and talk about what Ecamm uses, but how to stay organized and consistent. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end, and we'll go through that towards the end of the training. So this workshop really is for you. If you create video content in any form, if you're a YouTuber, if you're a live streamer, if you use video for presentations, whatever it is, this is going to be perfect for you. If you feel overwhelmed, like Katie and I were actually talking about this.
That's me right here.
Before the show, like, do you feel overwhelmed by social media? The answer for us is a resounding yes. So we're going to work with you to help you create a system that works with your content and not against it. And also how to do it so you don't get burnt out. Like, we've all seen those YouTube creators that are saying, I'm pausing. I can't do this anymore. My mental health is shot. So we don't want that to happen to you. So we really, really want to have this strategic approach to this. So once again, specifically for video creators to leverage their content. So how to get the most out of this workshop. So write down questions as they come up. No question is stupid. The only reason we know any of this stuff is because there have been problems that we've had to figure out and had to deal with. So think of us helping you with your questions as a shortcut to a solution. And we've got a guidebook that it's really simple. It's a Google Doc, and I'll show you that in the next slide. But use some of these things that you learned to help fuel your creativity. But it only works if you remember that insight that you had. So you want to write it down. If you're watching and if you haven't signed up for those replays, do that now so you can go back and get those in review and also get some of these documents. And if you're better with using voice memos, go ahead and speak those inside of like a voice recorder on your phone or whatever. If that's what you do, use it. Don't worry, we can't hear you. So go ahead and do that. But the easiest thing to do is go to jeffc.com/worksheet. You'll get access to this worksheet here that you guys can fill out or print out later. What you want to do is you want to open this link at jeffc.com/worksheet. You want to go to the top menu and click on File, Make a Copy. Then you can save it to your own Google Drive, and then you can go fill it out as we're going through stuff, or you can come back to it later. You can also export it as a PDF if you'd rather print it out and write it down by hand. So let's talk about setting clear goals. So before we dive into some of these really advanced tactics, we kind of need to establish why you're on social media in the first place. And everybody, if you're doing it for business, not just for a hobby or just to hang out with family and friends, your strategy should really support specific objectives that align with your video content. So what are those? So what is your end goal? So is it lead generation? Are you wanting to get customers or clients through your content? Are you wanting to build community? And I think this is going to be huge as we move into this AI future that we've all seen and heard. I think it's going to be more and more important as we go along. But how to create an engaged audience that interacts with you and each other, that could be a goal for your content. Direct sales, like boom, selling right from a video. Some people want to convert viewers into customers right there for your product or services, especially if you have like a Etsy or Shopify site. How can you use direct sales for that end goal? And then also, like, if you have a course, if you're wanting to share some knowledge-based product, how you can do that by driving that enrollment to your educational offering. So don't just create content because it looks fun or you see somebody else, some other influencer doing it. You want to really define your purpose first. What does that look like for you and your business? So, for example, this is what we do, my Friday show, Creator News Live. It is totally there to build community, and click on my sponsor's link, which is Ecamm. Like, those are the two goals. I want to build community and I want to get clicks back to my sponsor. So this reason can be different for everyone. And you also have to kind of test and try different things. There's a lot of best practices out there that say, don't put links in your content. Don't put them in there. It won't work. Well, I put links in about every piece of content I send out. And why do I do that? Is because it works for me. Like I get clicks back to what I want to get clicks back to. So I've tested it and I've tracked it and I've played with the message on it. So it's okay if your strategy differs from some best practices, if it aligns with your specific goals and you have tested it out.
I like that your strategy is like very I feel like sometimes I'm really guilty of overthinking this. Like I'm like, oh, okay, well, my strategy needs to be like a SMART goal. Like it has to have, it has to have like a number in there. It has to be like a little bit more strategic. So I do love, because I feel like my strategy is really similar to that, but sometimes I think it's good to sort of see what other people are putting in and give yourself permission to be like, oh no, it can be as simple as I'm trying to build a community. I'm trying to get people to click on my links, right?
Right.
That's a totally sound, valid strategy. And I think a lot of the times, because it's also public and we can see what everyone else is doing, like I'm completely guilty of that. And before we continue, I just quickly can you just share that link again for the guidebook?
For the guidebook, yeah. So it's jeffc.com. I'll go back. And I have a comment on that for you. It was this, jeffc.com/worksheet.
Yeah, this is how you get that worksheet. Yeah, because that one's not in the email. But we'll make sure we get, and I did see someone else ask about missing links in the email. I'm so sorry. That's my fault. And we resent the email with all the links in there. So double check. But this one isn't in there yet. So jeffc.com/worksheet.
Yeah, and I'm sure Paul's going to drop that down in the comments for wherever you guys are watching. So, but real quick, I wanted to go back to your point about your strategy. The other thing you need to really think about as well is where people are and where you are right now. And algorithms change. So you see these people, these big-time YouTubers saying you need to do this, this, and this, right? Yep. A lot of times it's best practices. Some of it may be valid. Some of it may not work anymore because it's a different platform from when they got in, right? Like when they started 3 years ago, YouTube was a very different platform than it is now. So you always want to test and try different things. Best practices are great, but those things can change over time. And sometimes it just takes experimenting and trying to, to see what's working for you and your channel and your content. So just wanted to say that really
can
quick.
Be like super simple too. Like I know that even for like my personal show, honestly, like the majority of my strategy is like get at least one comment on your post.
Which is great.
Right? Like you're exactly right. Like you have to know where you're at, and then the goals can change down the road. But I'm definitely guilty. If you are listening and you are also guilty of that, you're not alone. I'm like always trying to make it seem more strategic than it needs to be. Right?
Yeah. And if it's working for your business, keep doing it and see how you can increase it. So let's go back to the setting the clear goals. And then we talked about what's your end goal, and that can change for everybody. And I was talking about my show, like the two things that I want to do is community and get clicks back to my link. And you also want to think about how you want it to align with your brand voice. How do you want your content to come across? We've done a lot of interviews in the past, but right now for Creator News Live, we're really experimenting with, like, Connor and me, who's my co-host, lead the discussion, not always do an interview, and not always have to worry about getting a guest. It's really true that even by doing interviews of other thought leaders in your space, you become looked at as a leader. Thank goodness, because I would not get anywhere if I didn't have great guests. But I believe you become even more valuable and you can get into the thought leader level quicker if you also put in some of your own content a little bit more. Like, it doesn't have to be you talking on camera. You can still have a co-host, but not relying all the time on guests. Because, to be honest, getting guests are easy once you get started because you don't have it all relying on you. But full transparency, it is really hard for me to do a solo or non-guest shows. It is not that's why Katie's here. Like, it's a lot harder when I can't go, oh, Katie, why don't you take it?
I'm the same way. I feel like, I don't know. It feels in some ways like it's a bit of a superpower though, like just leaning into it and understanding it. I have people who I know that can just be live or record videos like by themselves all the time, and that's their safe spot. My safe spot is here with someone else. So high five for the team video creation.
And it's group. Okay. But one of the things that I do want to do better at is because imposter syndrome creeps in when it's just you. Like when it's you just on stage, when it's you doing just your own show, it can really creep in. but really doing the hard things are what moves the needle the quickest. It really is.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
like you want to ask yourself, what impressions do you want to leave? Does that content you're creating really support those long-term goals? Are you positioning yourself for opportunities like speaking engagement? So for me, like I want to do more speaking, and does my video content illustrate that? So really think about how you can become a thought leader, even by accident, kind of like what has happened to me. So the other thing you want to do is think about transparency. So once again, it's really hard for me to do solo or non-guest shows, but you want to think about how you appear in the space. I want to do more speaking gigs, so I need to think about how I'm going to come across. Now, transparency here, this is hard. I've thought a lot about this for our brand. I really worry about how I come across on video, because sometimes, like now, I'm not the most eloquent speaker. I think I ask good questions when I'm doing non-guest interview shows, but I worry about how I can stumble over words and then I'm hurting my speaking chances. But I've also gotten speaking gigs from doing the show. So it's this catch-22. So that's also another reason why I'm doing non-guest shows. But you really need to think about how you want to come across. What do you want to do? How will you be portrayed? Do you want to be that talking head who's perfect diction, or do you want to be that guy that you would want to get a beer with, at the local bar? What are you trying to feel? So you really want to be authentic about your journey, include those challenges that you're doing, and it really does build those stronger connections with your audience. So let's talk about some foundations of building efficient content. So who are you creating for? How do you do that? How do you figure this out? Well, the cool thing now is you can really, it's easier to do, and I'm going to give some tools right after this, but you want the ideal viewer versus the ideal customer. So the ideal viewer is kind of anybody who watches and engages with your content. Those are your casual browsers who just kind of stumble across you in the For You feed. They may have found you on YouTube because they need help with that topic. They may never purchase. They just may never, they're just finding you in the feed, and that's okay. But it provides engagement and reach. But you also want your ideal customer. So those are the people who actually buys your products and services. You have specific problems you're solving for them. Like if you're a plumber, you're showing them in your video how to fix a toilet. Roger Wakefield is my go-to guy on this. He is amazing. He has built a business off of being the plumber on YouTube. So they're willing and able to purchase. They have different probably demographics than you sometimes, but it provides that direct revenue. They click on your link, they buy your product, and your content strategy needs to serve both of those audience. And you really want to convert those viewers, the ideal viewers, to those ideal customers. So how do you do that? Well, here's some tools to define your audience. These are some of my favorite ones. And it's really a lot easier now to do this than it used to be in the past, especially with these AI tools. So StoryBrand Framework, if you haven't read that StoryBrand book, they have StoryBrand 2.0 by Donald Miller. Really, really good. You can ask ChatGPT. You can actually say, hey, I'm trying to figure out my audience. Help me with this, let me look at the StoryBrand philosophy, run it against that. Your platform analytics, like YouTube stats, are amazing. The data you get from that, even stats you get inside of Facebook, I found I can download those things, upload them to ChatGPT and say, hey, help me analyze this. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And it gives me some data that I've never even thought of before. I'm like, oh, okay, that's really, really cool.
That there, like if you... That's the gold right there. The more that I have started doing that, the better I have gotten. So obviously these tools can do an insane amount of stuff, but having ChatGPT or whatever equivalent AI tool you want to use, take that information and help make it, give it to you in a way that understand is huge. Like having that as a sounding board and getting ideas from those kinds of conversations. I feel like that the moment where I realized that I could just talk to these tools, I didn't need, I feel like the word prompt was in my head too much, where I was like, I need to have like a good prompt, otherwise I'm not going to get a good output. And then I just started actually like talking into my phone and being like, okay, I'm thinking this. And then when it gets it wrong, I correct it and kind of continue down that journey. But that right there, like write that down, because that is huge, because there's a lot that we are given from all these different tools. It's like really valuable data, but many of us don't, we're not data scientists. We don't have a background in understanding what that actually means for our business. So ask that, like, that's just a great best practice that we should all be doing way more often.
And I'm sure we'll talk about this more, but one of the things that I do, even we're talking about, what kind of content we want to put out, what do we be known for? Because I want to build community, I need to know my community. So a lot of times my chat knows who my audience is, and I'll say, hey, here are the questions I'm thinking, but I want you to help me write them for the people in my community. Because sometimes, and my wife tells me this all the time, but we think everybody knows as much as we do, and we can a lot of times talk over their heads. And a lot of times we have to okay, if I'm building community and I'm trying to get people in my ecosystem, I don't need to sound like a professor of content creation. I need to this is the problem I can help you solve. Here's the answer, kind of a thing. And so having chat help you do that in a way that's easy and you can analyze data like you've never been able to before is really, really cool and really, really key. Yeah. All right. So an audience survey. So I'm going to talk about the power of email. Paul Gowder, Liz Wilcox, nothing has built probably my brand faster and better than really focusing on email in the past year and a half. So email is really, really cool. And the cool thing is you can survey your audience because they have opted in because they want to hear from you. There's no algorithm, and you can ask them the questions like, hey, what kind of content do you want me to create next? So really, really important for that. But Paul Gowder, Liz Wilcox, all their stuff that they do is amazing. So check them out. So this is kind of how when I talked about chat, asking, to help me kind of figure this stuff out. I always say my audience is solopreneurs, content creators, and small businesses. So I try to think about them when I'm coming up with questions and topics for my show. I worked for Social Media Examiner. I did their show for years on Friday. And when we started this current show 5 years ago, we just did it an hour earlier because that was the time I was comfortable with. And I also wanted to pull in some of the old audience to this new show. But because of the time, some part-time creators can't come to that show, even though for a lot of country it's around lunchtime. But you don't want to ignore those overseas audiences too when you start thinking out where you're putting your content. And I'm talking specifically because mine is a live show. But we have a lot of people who watch from over the UK, so you need to really think about that too. So you want to consider both your live audience and your replay viewers when you're planning your content schedule. And once again, don't forget your audience may span multiple time zones and countries. Like my friend and Ecamm family member, Dave Jackson, who does a School of Podcasting, he does a show live on Saturday mornings at 9:30 Central Time because he knows a lot of his audience are part-time or just getting started in podcasting. And his School of Podcasting is all about answering their questions during his live show. So it makes sense for him to do it on a Saturday. Scheduling also can make difference for not just live shows, but even we found for short form content too. I talked to Katie. I just shared a clip of her not very long ago that on our Shorts channel, and we were experimenting because if we did it after 9 o'clock for some reason, our views went way up. So you always have to keep thinking that and trying okay, what's working right now, and think of those different areas that you might need to play with and change your publishing schedule. So. So always think about your the other audiences and time zones and all that kind of stuff, and try to plan that before you start a show. Like I did not. This is not super accurate, but this is what Gamma came up with. You're going to have a lot more replay viewers than you will have live show viewers, and that's just the way it is. But you want to try to package your show around the replay viewers because those are the people who are going to watch you after your show. And I found that a lot more people watch the replay or listen to the audio replay of a podcast based off the show than actually come live. But a lot of times the people who listen to the replay or find you through Apple Podcasts, they hear that you're doing a live show and they want to be a part of that. So they'll migrate over to the live show over time. Like they said, I've gotten comments before, I've listened to you for years, but I finally am able to join live. Stuff like that makes me really happy because it's a topic they want to learn more about or are passionate about. So just remember that as you're going along, is that don't be really discouraged with your live viewers at first. I actually used to do an old thing I used to do in Magic, and it's called plants. you have people in the audience that you've asked to be there.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
when I first started, it is okay to ask your friends to come up there. I actually gave them questions like, hey, can you really ask this question in a comment for me? That is totally fine. That totally will start the ball rolling. So if you have friends, and I hope you have a lot of them, see if like you're starting a live show, if they will come in live and watch you, because that was a great thing to help me when I first got started.
You'd be amazed as well. Like I it never ceases to amaze me. So I do a live show. I actually do it at 9:00 Eastern on Thursday night. So I definitely have cut out all of my UK and overseas friends from being able to attend live easily. But the Australians can make it. So
that's right. There you go.
But I am amazed at the amount of people, like we have a very, very, very small live audience that joins us, but there is like a recurring kind of group that comes. But I'm amazed at the amount of people who like will reach out and will say like, oh, I caught this past episode, or like they know that I'm doing a podcast. They know what the podcast is about. They've listened here, they've watched there. Like people who have never, ever made any kind of comment. They've never clicked on any of my social posts. So like I am reaching them, but they are maybe not actively coming every single time. So like I often feel like your reach is larger than what you are able to see or what the analytics are showing you. So it may feel like I've had moments where I'm like, oh, I only have like 8 people that come live, that my audience is only 8 people. It's not only 8 people. There's a lot more than that are, a little bit more casual, like you're saying, kind of your casual viewers and casual customers. And, they may be recommending my show to their friends or family, or I'm still in their sphere, even though I'm not able to track that data as accurately as others.
Yeah, I think they call it dark social. Like it's the people who don't ever. And it's really interesting too, and a lot of people will do this with podcasting, and I think some of that behavior is coming over to YouTube and even live shows, is that they're tuning in based on topic. Like if I'm doing shows about email and they don't care about email, they're not going to probably tune in. But if I'm doing something on AI and they're big on AI and they want to know more about AI, you get some of those viewers. So I also like kind of mixing it up so it's not always the same thing, and you have different types of people coming in. So that's also something you need to be aware of as well. So let's talk about building content around audience needs. So you want to, the great places, monitor relevant forums like Reddit, Facebook groups. You want to track those questions in your community. Send those email surveys. Like Kit is what I use, and they have a really great way to integrate polls now in their email, which it's really interactive, and 2, you can find out like what are people really wanting from you, and they will tell you. If you have fostered a community around your email where people feel comfortable replying or asking questions or suggesting things, then that is a gold mine, and that's not an AI, Jeff. It is really a gold mine of things that you can get back into your content because your audience is saying, hey, I want this. So it's really, really cool. You want to analyze content performance, and then you want to study industry publications. Keep your nose to the grindstone, because I am so much in the AI image space. I have so many YouTube videos that I am so behind on, like this Nana Banana thing. Whew, boy, howdy. There's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Same. I'm way behind on that one.
Yeah. And also, you have to have a way to collect information. Like read, constantly take notes. That is super important. Here's some of the tools that I use to help me collect that content as it's coming, because it can be overwhelming. And if you're like me, until you had a system, you were putting it everywhere and you can never find it. So one of the ones that I use all the time is Notion Web Clipper. I'm a big Notion fan. And this is just me going to the Ecamm landing page I have, and I clicked on the little Notion icon at the top, and I can save this page, and it actually adds it into a specific notes database. So if you see there, it says add to all notes, UB. UB stands for Ultimate Brain. That's Thomas Frank's, his kind of content management system that I purchased his template for. You don't have to use that, but you can just have a database. So it's just for notes. The cool thing, it takes whatever I have clicked on the page, it shoots it over to Notion. I can use either Notion AI or even just search it and find it. And I have all of my clips, all of my content inside of Notion. Big fan of Notion. Love Kat for telling me about Notion and getting me all of the drinking the Notion Kool-Aid, because that's where everything lives for me right now. And I'll show you even more later on in the presentation how I use it. Another great way, and I was so stoked because the closing keynote at CEX this past week shared this, like this was a great tool, this Readwise tool. And I'm like, man, I've been using this since 2023. Like, sit down. So, but readwise.io. And I read all my books now because of this reason on Kindle. And especially business books, I highlight what I want to save or something that means something to me. And the cool thing with Readwise is it shoots it over to Notion, all my highlights. So inside of Notion, this is my Notion database. These are the books that I've been reading. Right now I'm reading Roy Vaden and AJ Vaden's Wealthy and Well Known. You can see Lean Learnings down there. And it has this database now that just does it for me automatically. And then I can I'm clicked in here to Lean Learning. And this is all the little sections out of Pat's book that I really, really liked. And so I can use AI to find this again. I can clip these out for email. But this is how you can collect content for your productions, for your blog posts, for your emails, for your content you need to put out on video. This is invaluable because you're never starting from scratch, because you already have been collecting all this stuff throughout your life as you're going through it. So I really love this. Readwise also sends you an email, like you can set it up for every week, where it'll actually regurgitate some of this stuff so you don't forget about it, which is really, really cool. So I'm a big fan of Readwise. I use this all the time. It's not very expensive, but if you're a Notion person, oh my gosh, get Readwise. It's amazing. All right.
I just want to pause quick. Yeah. So there's a couple of great questions that have come through, but one of them was asking about what you're using for email. So and I saw that Paul answered kit.com.
Yeah.
But there is a really great tool. Liz is actually a co-founder of this tool called List Gadget, LIST Gadget. And that is a great one. Jeff was saying like a bunch of different, you want to send out surveys or ask people questions. That's like a great way to gamify a lot of that, or just be able to get that content back in a really different, fun way. So List Gadget is another great one. Caleb set it up for Ecamm, and we've absolutely loved it. It's been a lot of fun. It creates like a leaderboard. There's a bunch
it does. There's not just polls that you can do it. There's also other gamification things, and they're adding new ones all the time. So once again, it's Liz's co-founder with it, so it's good. And so I'm subscribed to that as well. So very, very cool. Was there any other questions, Kate? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there were a few. Do you want to just, if you search,
to the end, or do you want to do a
yeah? Why don't we hit up a couple of these questions now? Let me just scroll through because some of them were probably timed for the actual content itself. I'm scrolling through. I'm looking down because I'm scrolling through. If you put a Q in front of it, it helps us find them a little bit faster. I know some of you guys have been doing that. All right. So Michael asked about when to put questions in. Put them in now or drop them in later. That's also fine. Marianne was asking about the giveaway. I believe it is set up for North American only, but I will double check that afterwards, Marianne, and see if maybe we can make a change to that. I'm sorry. We've been dealing with some shipping stuff, but we'll see what we can make work. Michael had asked, Jeff, and I don't know if you know the answer to this one, but how do we determine the optimal time to release our content? So you were talking about how you had changed your short release schedule to later in the evening. Is there, Michael was saying, I've Googled it a ton of times, but I get a wide variety of answers. So.
I think it depends on your content, where you're at, and the time zone, all those things. So it just takes experimentation. And the problem is it's not going to be the same for every platform. So what works on YouTube, it's YouTube Shorts, probably is not going to work on, TikTok. So it's a bunch of experimentation and then just monitoring it. And because we noticed we were getting these kind of low numbers, and then we're like, what happened? Oh, if we post at 9 or a little bit after, they shoot up. Okay. Should we go later? And then it dropped down. So we're like, okay, 9, we'll keep it there for now. And it'll change because, these algorithms change. So you always have to keep monitoring it. And it's one of those levers you can see, title, thumbnail, time of day, all those things are another variation. So try not to do too much at once. Try one thing and see if that works. And if it works, then try another thing, and then just kind of play with it that way. That's the best I can tell you. It's not a great answer, but
don't sleep on those YouTube shorts. I have been amazed, both what we've done for Ecamm as well as what I've done personally. They wherever you are creating them, and it doesn't, to me at least, doesn't seem to make much of a difference which tool. I've tried, I think, just about every tool to create them, but they, even the weirdest possible content skyrockets up. I think for my movie podcast, it's like a weird clip where we're talking about clones from the movie Multiplicity. It's not even the funniest thing we've said or super valuable content, but something about it, has caught on, and that's my for me viral viral clip of the moment. So it's It has been interesting, but definitely worth testing and playing with. Follow-up question from Rich, who asks, do you ever re-release the same shorts to experiment?
I have not. I know some people do that. I have not tried it yet. I know some people go back in and change titles to see if some things do that. I have not re-released it just because we have so much content. Like that's a good problem to have. If you're like only releasing like once a week or something like that, you might think about, if you haven't done it in a couple months, it's something that you thought would be good and maybe change the title and thumbnail and see if that would work better. One of the things I will say really quickly is not to sleep on YouTube. I know a lot. That's kind of intimidating when you see all the Mr. Beasts of the world. Sean Cannell said he really believes that YouTube, and I know he's a YouTube guy, but I agree with him on this one, is that YouTube is going to be more and more important, even to the point of where if businesses don't have a YouTube channel, it's going to be like them not having a web page. Like I really believe that. And the shorts and YouTube is a great way for discovery for like a podcast or live videos. So don't sleep on them. You don't have to like overthink it either, but just start. Like if you're not doing YouTube and you have video content, there's no reason why you shouldn't be putting it out there. So
huge thank you to Beyond Limits, who sent us super chat. Thanks so much. We actually, fun fact, here at Ecamm, every time we get a super chat, we actually put that into like a little creator fund and we pay it forward. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We will make sure someone else gets that delight of getting one of those on their live stream. So huge thanks. Awesome. I did see one last question. I can't find it because I don't think it had a Q in front of it, but it was asking about what the threshold was to be able to go live. The thresholds are really, really small, if anything, I think, on YouTube. You have to set up an account and wait a day. I think they verify you.
Yeah.
But there's not like, you don't have to have a particular number of subscribers to be able to get the ability to go live. So it's a really low lift and a great way to kind of get consistent with your video content and start building a community.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you do a podcast type of live show or interview show, look at Jay Klaus's, the way he's doing his. He does a really, really great job. Look how he's packaging his stuff if you need some help with that. Once again, don't overthink it. Just get it out there. But he's a great example to look at kind of the podcasty live show kind of strategy that way. So here's some other real world content research examples. Like I talked about Dave Jackson. He uses Reddit. Like he'll actually pull it up during his live show as a screen share and just read the question. And I thought, that's genius. Like, I should do something like that because that's really cool. And he'll do it live and answer the question, and people will chime in on the show. The comments in his comment section will blow up because people want to answer those questions. So it really does help keep the content fresh, and he's answering the questions that people are really interested in. Now, Ecamm, I think, does the same thing. They really monitor their Discord and Facebook groups to identify, like, software issues, creating content for both those beginners and the advanced. So, Katie, you guys go in there. I think even this, when you asked me to do this, was based off some questions that came up inside of the community. So, are you just constantly writing things down?
We are constantly writing things down. We spend a lot of time with our community. So whether it's seeing them in the chat on, any of our live streams or seeing what they're posting and asking questions about in the community. And then most recently, Caleb, who runs all of our emails, has been sending out direct questions. So we've been using tools like List Gadget to be like, hey, what tutorial videos are we missing? We've heard from some of you that certain features are complicated or you don't know how to get started with different things. Like, what can we just record a video for you about? And we've been releasing more and more of those videos. And it gives me a little bit of anxiety because I'm so used to sort of overproducing in some ways. I'm like, okay, well, we have a question about this feature. I need to find like the expert in that topic. I need to have them record this like polished, super professional video. We need the best thumbnail. And instead now we're doing this new tactic. So we'll see how it works, but we're the team ourselves. So whether it's me or Paul or Caleb, Doc, Jill, one of us will actually just record a quick video using Ecamm that answers the common questions and challenges that our members are facing. And then we're releasing that on YouTube. And sometimes it doesn't even have a thumbnail. And sometimes, it doesn't have perfect SEO. We can go back and tweak that later, but being able to get that content out to people in a way that they can find it and opening it up so others can discover it and learn from it, I think is way more valuable in this particular instance for our goal of making sure our community knows what's happening and feels supported than kind of overthinking and slowing down the process because they want to know now. They want to have that answer and be able to get up and running. So So let us know if that's been helpful for you, if you're part of our emails, and if you're not, sign up and give us your feedback, because it's made it easier for us to know what kind of content to create as well. Like what do people actually really want to see, which they find value in.
Yeah. The other thing I would say too is I've noticed that, I think it was the last one that Jill sent out, was that you actually ask open-ended questions like, what is Ecamm to you? Yeah. Like that was like like, oh, that's kind of a hard question. Like, but that's great because you're getting it back, and then you can tell like, oh, they don't see that we do this, and you can create content around like, did you know you can use it for presentations?
Or we think, maybe we think that Ecamm is, a powerful video production software, right? But everyone is actually calling it like a live streaming tool, or calling it a video creation tool, or maybe the verbiage we're using is wrong, or we know that there's tons and tons of customers out there that are doing all these incredible things with our software, but we don't know exactly what that is or what that looks like. So seeing different people's, thoughts on what the software actually is, I think it'll be interesting. We'll keep you posted.
And it's really like, I sent something similar out to my email list, and they were saying, because I was like, hey, what do you want different? Like, do you want to have like a news section? And everybody's like 5 or 6 people came back and said, we don't want you to change anything. We like your emails the way they are. We're like, okay. Perfect. So I'm like, all right, that's easy.
Onward.
So, onward and upward. So so one of the things like we mentioned, like Dave Jackson's Reddit approach, Ecamm's community, the things they do, because they are very focused on community, and you can tell it from the content they put out. And then like we mentioned before, Liz Wilcox and Paul Gowder, use those email surveys, grow your list. It's very intimidating to grow your list. It's very intimidating to, if you've done a list for a while and haven't cleaned it, to just unsubscribe people. That's scary, but it does make your list perform way better. I'll leave that to Paul when he does a training for you guys. But so don't ignore email. It's huge for any type of content. Once again, it's a secret content weapon, one of the best tools for building the community. And don't forget that one of the prizes is Paul's like list.
Yeah, his course.
Yeah, his course on how to figure out your opening sequence, which is very, very cool. On that note about sequence, he has helped me so much with the sequences of my emails. So when somebody subscribes to your emails, don't just dump them into your main email. Use that sequence to help warm them up to what your content's about, what it means to join your community. Think about your email as a community. It's not a broadcast platform just to grow your content. You always want to think about it as growing your community. And that's like I said, one of the best things I've done for growing our podcast and also our live show viewers. So next we're going to talk about this. I'm a big fan of Kit. I've talked about that. That's who I use my email with. I saw Nathan Barry, the founder of Kit, talk about a content flywheel that he used to help grow Kit into what it is. And he actually has a great YouTube video on his channel that he shares that speech that he gave about that from Craft and Commerce. It's great to check it out. So thinking about a content flywheel was a big unlock for me. So what is a content flywheel? We call it a content flywheel because just like a heavy flywheel on a machine, it takes some effort to get it moving. Like it's a grind. But once you do, every show, video, or podcast you create gives you pieces that feed into the next thing, like social clips, posts, emails, and all of those spin back to your main content. And before long, you've got momentum that keeps growing without starting from scratch every week. So that is a big key, because it can be a grind when you get started, but just keep being patient. It's coming. It makes it easier. So here's some actual, another kind of philosophy, like it's uphill battle. Like you think about riding a bike up a hill at the beginning, every pedal stroke, especially now with me, it feels like hard work. You're sweating, you're grinding, and it feels like you're barely moving. And that's when it's like when you're first starting. Like if you're just starting this journey, it is a grind. It's hard. You have to think of every post, every video, and every podcast. It feels just like so much effort just for a little bit of progress. But I promise it gets easier because you get this downhill reward. Once you crest that hill and start going down, the bike kind of takes off a life of itself. I can't think about Fridays not doing a show. Like when I travel, like it freaks me out. Like wake up like something's missing, but that's the content flywheel in action. So the key is pushing past that initial resistance until you reach that tipping point. Now I know you've done that same thing even with your show, Katie. Like it's like at first you got to set up all the stuff, you got to create all the backgrounds and all the things, and it's a lot, right?
Yeah, it can be a lot. And honestly, I'm also really, really guilty of comparing myself to everyone else. Like I know that it's not the right. I know in my mind that it is not healthy for me or helpful or whatever, but I still do it a lot. But the thing that I really keep reminding myself of is that it's, you know, similar to the analogies that you've just given. It's really hard to steer a parked car, right? Like you
Right.
have to get
Yeah.
into the car, you have to turn it on, you have to start driving somewhere, and then you're able to be like, oh, I'm going a little bit too fast, I'm going to slow down. Oh, actually, like I forgot that I needed this thing, I'm going to try. Like all of these decisions, like I now am able to make are just adjustments. The car is already moving, right? The hardest part was actually just getting into it and choosing the car, getting into the car, starting
picking
the car,
upholstery, all that stuff.
Yeah, and going, right? So it has gotten a lot easier. There's still every single day, even as we're talking now, I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, oh, maybe I should figure out a better strategy for, when I'm releasing my YouTube shorts. Maybe I need better segments. Is my show interesting enough? Like I'm constantly trying to make it better, trying to think through these things, but it is way easier to make these little changes once you have some kind of workflow and routine. It's really hard when you're doing everything like in the moment or when you're first starting, it really is significantly more difficult. So even if it's like a very broken system and you're aware that it's broken, having some kind of system to tweak and make changes to is way better than having nothing at all. Right. So if I can, I know we always in all of these we're like, just do it. But really, like if you can get through the hump of just starting, the rest of it is actually easier. It is easier to be like, oh, well, all of my YouTube thumbnails are terrible, so I'm going to slowly work to update them, right? Like that's easier than being like, now, what is a YouTube thumbnail? How do I get that? Right. That's a harder first step. So,
and one of the things, and I've talked to my daughter who's just kind of she works for me and she's not been in like the workforce for a long, like as long as we have, but you'll never get everything done. Like you just have to be, you have to be okay with that. And that, when you're first starting out, like that's the struggle. Like, oh, I have to have this, and check off everything. You need to have like the basics to go live or to do a show and, those things. You are never not going to have things you can work on. Like that'll never happen. Like if you have that mindset, like you're going to be frustrated. You just have to be comfortable being, like things aren't going to be done all the time to the way you want it. You have to go live and be okay with it. But that's hard. That's hard for a lot of people to do, but you'll never.
Well, I laugh now. I obsessively listen to this true crime podcast, and the co-hosts are like in my area. They're New Englanders, and I'm like, I'm now with it. I'm in on them. They have like hundreds of episodes, and I've binge listened my way through all of them, and now like listening as it was released. But their first probably like 50 episodes were with like the worst possible microphone, if not any, like they probably were just like talking into their phone and like that was how they were recording their episodes. And they went back and actually like, years later, like for a while it was like a joke. Like they were like, oh, like you'll listen to our original episodes, we sound underwater, like we're sorry, haha. Like it was, they were aware of it, they were probably self-conscious of it, and they kind of became a joke, and they were listenable. Like I listened and ended up becoming a fan of the show. But years later, they actually went back and did like special editions of those episodes. So they left those episodes, but they re-released them and they like updated the quality of them so that they were listening. So even the quote unquote best shows out there, even the best content out there that you love, that you think, the world of, they've all started somewhere. They've all had terrible episodes. They've all been like, oh, that was bad.
Everybody's got cringe. If you've done it long enough, you've got cringe performances, episodes, whatever it is. Yeah. So it can be. It can be ugly, but keep
it's
going.
All updatable, I guess, is the point. Like you can fix and tweak just about anything.
Yeah, and people are forgiving especially if you're continuing for a long time. But so continuing on, kind of what we were talking about with the pillar content. Like this is how I and a lot of other creators do it. I start with a live show, which is has a live broadcast with audience interaction. Some people just do YouTube videos. Totally fine. Pillar content. That's what we're going to take everything from. That's where we're going to create all the clips that feed the social channels, that feed your podcast. All these things work together in this, starting with this pillar content. And mine is my live show. Some people, it is just a live video podcast, a YouTube video, video training. We were talking about Alex on before, who's he does a lot of training. That's a lot of his pillar content. Steve Dotto is the same way. So you kind of need to figure out what your pillar content's going to be, and you'll be surprised, and we'll talk through it, how much content you can get from that one piece of video content.
Yeah, which is actually, there was a great question earlier from someone who was asking about what to do because their audience was largely on Facebook, and they were like, Facebook Live is so difficult, and and they've made all these changes, and it's been daunting in that space. If you can go back to that graphic that Jeff just showed and think through, like, it doesn't, your long form content, your pillar content does not have to be on Facebook. Like, it doesn't have to be a Facebook Live for you to check that box. It could be on YouTube. It could be somewhere else. Like, you can still engage with your community on Facebook if that's where they live, without the actual long form pillar content living there or being there. Like, you can have a live show or a series of training videos or wherever, and they can live wherever, YouTube or Vimeo or on your site or wherever it is, and you can still engage with your audience and ask questions and spend time with them out on Facebook. So don't worry. I know that's one of those platforms that's really difficult, but it's not a direct line all the way through. Like, you're not on like the Facebook train where it's like, if you were not doing Facebook Live and sharing Facebook videos and posting on Facebook, like, you don't have to connect the dots that way. You can do whatever makes sense for you. And
I would really, whoever said that, do it just on Facebook, I would really encourage you to work at getting it on YouTube just for discovery. Because, I mean, my parents are watching YouTube videos in their 70s and 80s, that's what they watch more than Netflix or anything else. Is they love their cooking YouTube videos and their, whatever, law enforcement videos that they watch.
Law and Order.
Yeah, whatever. They love that stuff. And so you've got to, like, YouTube is the biggest streaming platform there is. Like, your content lives on there with those big shows too, and you have a chance to be discovered. So don't sleep on YouTube. I'll just keep saying that.
And you don't need an account, I think, is like the really key thing to note there. So, like, someone on Facebook can click through a YouTube link and they can watch and like, I guess they can't fully engage. They can't comment or do things like that, but they can watch your content without having to have a YouTube account. So it's certainly an easy connection point, I guess, and a good place to kind of keep your video content. Yeah.
All right. So moving forward, as we continue to go through what you need to do before you record. So this is the hard part. Like, you just want to click record or go live. You're excited. You've got a great idea. But I want you to pause. I want you to take a breath if you've never done this before and really think through the heavy lift of starting the show and then creating those assets that will fuel momentum in the future. I know we all think that we're the next Joe Rogan or the next Mr. Beast, right? We all think all we need to do is put the content up. Everybody will love us. In reality, you've got to have these systems that point people back to your content because it is so crowded, it is so noisy. And if you are the next Joe Rogan, come teach me, because I don't know how to do that. But I know how to do these other parts to still make a living out of all this stuff. So you really need to plan before you go live. You want to really choose content that you love. Like, if this is something that's going to last for a while, like I've been doing my show for 5 years, Katie's been doing her show for a while, you need to make sure, if you're going through the grind to get this flywheel moving, you really need to make sure you love with your topic or your content, that you'll be able to create that content even in the hard times. I did stuff back in the day that got me, it was mainly Pinterest tips. Did that for years. That's what got me noticed by Social Media Examiner. It's my biggest platform. Over 40,000 people follow me over on Pinterest. So crazy. I got bored with it. It's really hard to talk about one platform all the time, right? So that was something I had to move on from, and I had to make a pivot, and it was hard. And of course I did it for a long time. So, but you want to make sure when you're making this content, it's something that has longevity. It's something you enjoy. We'll talk about the design tomorrow on something you need to design things you want to design for. But it does take that persistence and really choosing the content you love. So, and what we've been talking about this, but video, I think, is the ultimate flywheel content because it's the easiest way, in my humble opinion, to create a content flywheel because you have so many opportunities to create content from it. There's just so many different ones. So for me, like, live show goes into repurpose video. It's on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. I have short form content. I've got TikTok, Shorts, Reels, Pinterest. Don't forget Pinterest because it gives you a link back. And it's really easy to repurpose those TikTok shorty kind of content there. An audio podcast. My podcast does really, really well because some people want to listen to me in the car and they don't want to watch a video. So I always think about giving people the content where they want it. How do they want to consume it? Give them the options for that. Written content. We take all the stuff, and now it's even easier with all the AI transcription platforms that we have to create blog posts, show notes, transcripts, right from one live show, Flywheel. I just love live video in that reason. I know, Katie, of course, Ecamm, you do the same thing for your show as well, and Ecamm stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that the video piece is I use this lightly, but like the hardest piece to create. Like, it is way harder to write a blog post and then turn that into a video. Like, it is the easiest starting point, right? If you record a video or you live stream a video, then everything else is super easy, especially with AI, to be able to pull all the pieces from, versus if you start with each of those individual pieces, it's way harder to build up to a video.
Right.
So if you can get yourself in that mindset as that's the starting point, like long form content. And when I say long form, you do not have to have like a 3-hour video, 5-hour, an hour video, right? Like your long form content could be a 5-minute video that you do on a regular basis, but having it as video first actually will make the entire thing easier. Because it's just so simple to be able to pull, screenshots, GIFs. You can use the transcript, as Jeff was saying, to turn that into all kinds of pieces of content. So it is absolutely amazing what you can do with one video. So if you're in a regular habit of creating video, then you've, as Jeff was saying earlier, like, you will never run out of content. Like, we are here at Ecamm, never out of content. Never. In fact, too much content most of the time. But we never run out of things to say and do, that's for sure.
And I will say this, and this is maybe a little controversial, and I probably get argue back from Dave Jackson on it, but I think if you're starting a podcast now, it's almost impossible to get leverage unless it's a video. I just really, unless you're doing a really super produced Wondery type of, like, it takes you all week to create an audio podcast, I think you almost have to have a video element to it. Unless you're doing like a true crime one where it would be kind of ridiculous too. I just think if you're starting one, it's really hard to get those views without having the YouTube algorithm serve you up. Maybe
I think your comment earlier is like really resonated with me, where I think you're right that YouTube is going to become more and more of this like website home base. So I think even if you have like a really, really well produced, awesome audio only podcast that everyone really wants to listen to and is engaged with, they're still going to look to see if you have a YouTube channel. So maybe it's not that you need to have your entire show as a video show, but you certainly are going to need video if you're going to try to reach an audience. So, and once you've reached an audience, they're going to expect that you're going to have video to some level in your content flywheel. So I think it's just a really important thing to keep in mind, that again, it is the quote unquote hardest part, because it takes the most thought and strategy and sort of production to pull it together. But once you have all of the stuff and have the plan, then it does just become kind of a rinse and repeat on what you're doing, right? Like, then you can think about the content more than the process, which is the goal.
Yeah. And so I saw somebody said shots fired when I said that. I just think it's really, really hard not to, just in a podcast way. And we even used to, so we produced Guy Kawasaki's Remarkable People podcast, and we would, even before he did video, because for like years he wasn't doing any video, we would take it and make the audio graphic and put it up on YouTube just for the discoverability. Now, does it get as much clicks as now as we did with when we have the actual video? No, but it's, some people still listen to you. They use the app on YouTube to listen to podcasts, which is weird, but people do it. So, so you just even if you're doing that, put it to YouTube because of the discoverability. All right. We are getting, I'm got to get going. So benefits of content repurposing. So one of the things, because on my, that a lot of people don't think about, because I highlight guests on my short form. So most of the clips you see of me shooting out on LinkedIn or on YouTube Shorts or Instagram is usually my guests saying something profound, and I'm just there. Maybe you'll catch part of a question of me, but it makes it a lot easier for me to get new guests on the show because they see that I promote the heck out of them, right? Like, that's a lot of things happen because of it. I also get a lot of collaboration opportunities because when people see that you're on a show consistently, they're going to ask you to be on their shows or collaborate with them on something. It really is one of the best ways to grow your content. So it's just not about creating content. It's also about growing and creating those opportunities that we can have because we are content creators. So Consistency. This is huge. Like, a lot of people don't mention this, but you'll hear it from YouTubers, the importance of like publishing each week. I'd argue that it's even important for live show creators is doing it the same time each week, every time. Now, I've had guests who say I can't do it that time, and I'm like, well, you can't be on the show. Sorry, that's when we do it. Like, it's very, very rare. Sometimes for Christmas or something, we'll pre-record a show, but having that consistency is one way to keep that heavy content flywheel spinning. So if you do a live show every week and you have a ton of great content, you'll have, you know, we mentioned getting better at 1% every time. But yeah, it's the big deal for people to come and see your show by being consistent, without going, you know, having to push it every week. So now we're going to talk about some systems, and these are some systems that I use to help this flywheel keep going. Editorial calendar, which I wish I would have done a lot earlier. This is because it was like, okay, what can I do for this show this week? You don't want to be in those situations, especially if you have clients and you're like doing this for other people. You want to have a consistent schedule and have a calendar that you can look at. This is a lot easier now that we have ChatGPT and AI. One of the things I put in, you know, we mentioned before, I put all my episodes in and ask AI what was the most popular, what gaps I'm missing, like what have I not talked about in a while that I need to, something in the news. Go back again to polling your audience, see what they're wanting more of. You know, things will change in the future. So you always want to keep going because the news changes, new things roll out, and this is a great way to coordinate across multiple platforms. Also, it's okay to revisit your greatest hits. There was a question about repurposing like a short. I think you can do that if it makes sense and you've had enough time between them. But if you're doing it right and your audience is growing, it's okay to go back to your greatest hits because there'll be different people watching you now than when you started. You'll see a lot of creators who are growing and Mike Alton does this all the time. He'll introduce themselves to new followers, like on LinkedIn or something. Hey, if you just join me, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I stand for. And here's the content I produce. And so that's a really great way to re-educate people about who you are. That's why it's really important. Paul Gowder talks about this for the email sequence because they're coming on. They don't know you, so you have to introduce them to your content. So make sure you do that every 6 months or so is what I would say to kind of introduce people to your content and what you're about. Batch planning, it's a kind of a different way than batch recording because when you're doing a live show, you can't batch record.
I like this, batch planning. I mean, I do this. So.
So you want to keep the ideas, you know, spending less time on your, you know, scrambling to get things done. You carve out this focus block to kind of think about what you need to do. I know kind of the next 3 months what I want to talk about on the show. I don't have exactly the exact guess, but I kind of know where I want to lead the audience because of the things that they have told me. And then learning what's the difference between evergreen and trending content. So that's really important to realize too. I went too far, I think. Did I miss one? Nope, I'm right. Batch claiming. So this is kind of like content meal prep. So it's like meal prepping, but for content. You don't want to be in the kitchen all the time every day. So you don't want to think about, oh no, what do I want to post today? You carve out a certain time, and mine is Mondays, like at 9:30. I call it idea time, and I have blocked out this time to go and think about what my content's going to be, what I need to post, what kind of repurpose content that I kind of need to see, what are my stats doing. So take one afternoon or some time block and edit a bunch of, you know, short form clips. You know, do it all at once so you can get it done, get it out, and not have to be always thinking about it all the time. And you don't want to be at the kitchen at 7 p.m. thinking about, like, what are we eating? I'm hungry. And then just pull a frozen pizza out that nobody wants to eat. So prep it ahead of time and save your sanity. So buckets, content buckets are your categories. These are the lanes you kind of stick in so you're not just post some random cat memes one day and tax advice the next. Unless, you know, you are Cats and Taxes show. That would be really interesting. But educational. Those are how-to tips. Behind the scenes, you want to show you like how you're doing this thing in your company. It's really funny to me, the produced stuff that I do versus like, hey, I'm just going to hold my camera and talk. The hold the camera and talk stuff always does better for some reason. Like they want to see the behind the scenes. It's very, very important. Engagement. We've talked a lot about this. Polls, Q&As, shout outs to people. That's the one thing I love about live is bringing people up on their comments up because they see their face, they see their avatar, Everybody wants to do that. People will stay through your live streams because they know you will answer questions, and there's a chance they'll answer your question, and then you'll bring it up on screen. They will stay and have longer view times, which is really, really cool. You want to promote your products and services because we all got to eat. And then also you want to become a thought leader. Like, what are you known for? What will people ask you to speak on? What will people ask you to come on your podcast for? You want to have those kind of buckets too, where you're showcasing it, not all the time, because that can be a little spammy in my opinion, but being there for the thought leadership section of your content. So
if you're struggling too with the content buckets, again, like this is a really great thing to throw at a ChatGPT or to throw at an AI tool and be like, hey, as you were saying, like here are some examples of past content I've created, or here's my like about us, block that I've written. Can you please help me think through what my content pillars should be and brainstorm with that tool. That is, and I do that fairly often. I would say like maybe every couple of months even. I just double check and be like, okay, do these content pillars make sense? How can I switch them up? What might be more relevant? So if that's over the top. And then I saw a quick question coming in from Laura, asked how do you actually go about figuring out, like, how do you get your episodes into a tool like ChatGPT? Like you said that you gave it past episodes to try to.
Yes. Oh gosh, I hit my head. So
yes, enthusiasm.
so excited. So transcripts are your friend. You got to have everything. For me now starts with the transcript. It's changed everything how I edit. I use the script. We're going to talk about that in day 2 and 3 and on. Really get some tacticals on how I use that to do all this stuff. So transcripts are what I use, and you can ask those questions of those transcripts. I have all my transcripts from like 4 years of shows that I have ready. I have it in a group inside of ChatGPT, and all those are uploaded, and I can ask it questions like, hey, what kind of like worksheet could I do for on our podcast episodes? Like, what could I write a book about this? Is there a good ebook that I can make? So when you do live shows, like I said, there's so much content you have. Transcripts are your friend. So when I'm done with the show, the first thing I do, drag everything to the script. It makes a transcript, and I'll show you guys how to do that in the following days, exactly how we do it. So, but once you have those buckets, like Katie says, it's a lot easier to plan. You're not asking, what should I post? What bucket should I dip in today? You've already got all these ready to go, set up, and so this is really, really cool, key to have these kind of buckets to share that we talked about before. So evergreen versus trending. So evergreen content is the stuff that lasts, like a YouTube video on how to light your home office for video. That's going to be around a lot longer than, hey, here's some new tips on Nano Banana. Like Nano Banana is new. Everybody's talking about it on YouTube right now, but it's not going to help people probably today, tomorrow, or next year. So your long-term library is what works for you over and over and over. That's what evergreen content. Trending content is the stuff, like I mentioned, like Nano Banana is hot right now. AI is hot right now. My friend Mike Alton calls it newsjacking. Like something just came out. If you can get a video out quickly, and a lot of YouTubers use this strategy, then you're pushed up in the algorithm, people and see your stuff. So you want to have a balance between these two different ones. I kind of like 70% evergreen, 30% trending. I actually maybe even turn evergreen up more just because I like that kind of content because I'm in it for the long haul. If it's don't just do a newsjacking thing just because everybody else is. Like if you're like me and you're doing something on, social media or AI stuff, you don't go and say, hey, there's a new toy from Hasbro, right? You don't go in and you don't do a story about that because it doesn't make sense, even though it's really big in the news. So you have to use your best judgment on this. You want to have a balance between evergreen and trending. So make sure you do that as well. And then the balance. You want to balance between the two. Evergreen keeps growing your audience long term. Trending keeps you relevant. So just kind of think of it that way. But for me, always evergreen is the way to go. If you have a choice, always go with evergreen. So this is kind of the big picture of batch processing. Batch planning keeps you ahead. The buckets of content keep you organized, and you know where you can dip into those every once in a while because you have them organized. And then balancing that evergreen with trending makes you kind of have a sustainable content plan because you build for tomorrow while staying relevant today. And this is what keeps your flywheel moving. So here are some tools that I use for managing the planning and scheduling, both for personal use for my own channels, my own personal brand, and also client work. Big fan of Agorapulse. It allows me to schedule across multiple platforms. It has what's really cool is a centralized inbox. So if somebody makes a comment on TikTok or on Reels or wherever, I don't miss it. It shows up in my inbox and I can reply to that. I can track engagement. It has some collaboration features, but it also lets me schedule across platforms, and I'll show you what that looks like right here. So this is actually the social listening. Like somebody in my YouTube channel said, "Why is there a wizard on your podcast?" Because I have a beard, and I showed up at the bottom of a clip. And so this lets me go in and respond to this guy. He wasn't being ugly. It was just kind of funny. So I'll go in and respond to him. But it shows up in my channels where I can go and reply, and I can do it all inside of one dashboard. Agorapulse isn't for everybody. There's another one. SmarterQ is one that does something similar. I don't know if it has as much social listening, but it allows you to kind of have these cues that can go out like this. This is our content bucket. You can see here on the left, I have Manly Pinterest tips, Facebook channel, the social media, the Creator News Live Facebook channel, my LinkedIn channel. All these different columns are categories of content. So, and they constantly go out every day and they rotate. So we've set these all up. Abby, my daughter, has done a lot of this, and these constantly trickle out. So these are evergreen. We will go in and change some things, like if it doesn't make sense anymore. No one's talking about like a certain feature on Instagram, we'll delete that. But these are constantly going, and we're constantly adding things here to this content library. So I can pretty much set it and forget it, which makes it really, really, really cool.
This is my goal. I won't show mine. Mine is so disorganized. But this is what I want to get to, is being able to like really have at least the evergreen going on a regular.
Oh, I just lost you.
I like to post when I'm like in the moment, and so I can't easily plan ahead of it. But I definitely need to get sort of the regular content going on a regular basis. So
yeah, so
I love it. She's done a great job with that.
So this is what we use for we put a lot of our video content in Square videos because it does okay on Facebook. It does good on LinkedIn. It does things. So we make one piece of content for that, and I'll show you that, guys, how we do that in the next couple of days. But this is kind of the planning that we go. And then we have another tool that we use for our short form content, which is like for Reels, TikToks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let me pull that up. So really quickly talk about the different. So we have like the standard content where we have the square formats, video scheduled, and then we have the short form content. And we use a different service. It's kind of like if this, then that. It's called repurpose.io. I really like this tool. It works really, really well for us. We use it for ourselves and some for our clients. And we actually, this is our kind of workflow. So whenever we publish something to TikTok, it'll go to LinkedIn. It'll go to Instagram. It'll go to Facebook Reels. It'll go to TikTok. It'll go to the YouTube Shorts, Pinterest, LinkedIn. Now, you can actually, and we've done this for clients, you can actually have it auto-publish. You'll see that those switches are all turned off. Because I like to go in, once we have the things scheduled, we customize it for each different platform. So, because Pinterest will have a link back to your article on your website. So we go in and manually add that. That's why we don't have it auto-publish and just go to our main page or something. I want it to go back to the article. And in fact, it looks like this when you dive in to like the TikTok to Pinterest. So here's all the content we have on there. On the right-hand side, we can schedule it just by clicking one button. So we set it all up. It gets published to TikTok, and then we can just click a button and send it to all the different places. Does that make sense, Katie?
Yeah, it's awesome. I haven't started using this one yet, but now that I'm seeing it here, I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to get in.
Because platforms are different, and they all like different captions. And the cool thing with Repurpose is you can actually even go in and say, make this the first comment. So that's why we want to go in and it's really easy because we can just click a button and send it everywhere, but I can also go in and make it specific for each platform. So I really, really love Repurpose, and it's very, very affordable. So I really like that one. So it goes out automatically. It saves me a ton of time, and don't sleep on Pinterest either, because that's a link back to your content, and it loves vertical style like shorts and reels that you can repurpose over there. Really, really easy. So another thing what we do is we track everything. Like I track all my links. I know how many people are clicking on my links on each of those posts that go back to my sponsor. And if you're not tracking links now, you should. And because that way what's working, and you can figure out what's working in emails or what's working on your posts on different platforms. And I really like Genius Link because it works well with Amazon. I'm an Amazon partner and influencer and all that stuff. So I can actually see where things are working, and it works really well with Amazon, which is really important to me. That's why I use it over something like Bitly or something like that. The other cool thing is if you're doing a lot of affiliate links, it has a thing called choice pages. So people have the choice if they click on that link, if they want to buy it from Amazon or if they want to buy it from Walmart or like B&H, if you have an affiliate relationship with that. So giving people an option of where they want to purchase from does really, really help with affiliate sales if you're doing that sort of thing. So I just love Genius Links. It's another super cheap service, and it's worth doing if you're not tracking links already. All right, so managing multiple channels. So this is how we manage all this stuff across all the things we do for ourselves and our clients. So first of all, I'm going to tell you about how we use for Guy. He's one of the big podcasts that I do. He uses Trello, and we've used that for over 5 years. I know we don't talk about Trello very much, but I always try to do what the client wants, not so much what I try not to force them into my ecosystem. So I have my own internal tracking, but I do what they want just because they want. So Trello, if you don't know what it is, it's the Kanban or Kanban or Can, however you want to say it, kind of system. It's a really great service, and it looks like this. So we have all of our and Peg Fitzpatrick set this up for us way back in the day. So we have all of our stuff that we need for the podcast. We have the transcript in there with the titles and description, links to a Google Sheet. We have all their content, the books that they have, the tasks that we need to be done. And this is where I share, like if we have new graphics, I drop it in there for the team. So this really works well for us. So that's great. I personally use, Notion. Yeah, love me some Notion. We use this for everything. This is how our client space looks for our Notion board. And this is, once again, Thomas Frank's template. You don't really need to do templates anymore because the AI in Notion can really build everything for you. But all of my channels that I run or manage are in here right now, and I can click on those. And this is why I love it. I can see where everything is. So this is Guy's, inside of Guy's tracking thing. Here's who we have coming up. Here's what I'm editing right now. Here's one to Shannon. He is our sound producer. So I can look at this and see exactly where everything is at, and then I can move things over, which is very, very satisfying when you move them to complete. It's one of my favorite things. But when you click on each one of these people or these episodes, it looks like this. It'll pull up a side thing, and it shows me exactly where in my tasks I have everything. So I can see what I need to do, what the team needs to continue to work on, and so I don't get lost. Like, it's easy to get lost when you're starting creating content. Yeah. Having something like this really, really helps. So we use this all the time. Another thing is you want to have the kind of a tracking system, and like in back into this Notion thing, one of the things I have is not only the publish date, but also the edit date, because I want to have it edited in enough time that I have some breathing room before I have to publish. So I have those 2 dates in there, and once again, it gives me content status at a glance, who's responsible, what deadlines we got, and then what channels are we putting them out on. So this is just kind of a must-have for us. So here are where we're at. We've set clear goals. We've talked about knowing your audience. We've talked about creating pillar content where everything starts from how to build your flywheel, how to plan and schedule, where to analyze, and then, setting those clear goals, and it just continues to go around and around. So I hope you got these takeaways, like the goals, who you're creating for, like who in your audience are you creating this content for, and then how to build a content flywheel, and then use those systems that we kind of went over to stay consistent. And remember this bike analogy. It's a grind. I get it. It's hard to get started. It feels like you have all these tasks, but if you have a system and you have it in a place where you can constantly go and look at it, it gets easier and easier every time you do it. And pretty soon, whatever day that you put content out it turns into your favorite day. Like Fridays are my favorite day of the week because I get to hang out with people who watch my live show and their friends, and I just love it. So remember that bike analogy, and then think about your content ecosystem. Those clips feed your social channels. We've talked about YouTube a lot today. Social posts can feed your podcast. Your podcast feeds your email list. Everything loops back, and suddenly the system is working for you instead of you working for the system. And consistency, you need to do that every week. Show up and make consistent social posts, and you want to have that reliable email, and it keeps that flywheel spinning. And you don't need to go and do everything at once. You can start with one pillar, and you can only do one repurposing channel. You can just do a basic, you can do something in Google Sheets. You don't have to buy Trello or Notion. Notion you probably do. But, you know, you can add channels as you gain momentum, but get that flywheel going, and then you can refine and optimize based on what's working for you. And now we can go into, I think we have a little time for some questions. Katie, what are some questions? There's no stupid questions.
Yay!
By the way.
No, everyone's actually asking great questions. I and all of it, which is great because we're going to talk about how to do that. So should be good all the way across. Okay, great. So Rich is asking, is the Friday Zoom call going to interfere with your Friday show, Jeff?
So the Zoom call will not, but this content will. So I'm not sure if we'll have Connor on with this or not. It'll probably just be me and Katie.
Can join us, yeah.
And he can ask questions if he wants. But we'll kind of finish up the week's training on Friday during the live show time. It'll still go out. You'll still get all the stuff. The Zoom call will come after that. I think it's on, I can't remember what the time is, Katie, but it's like 2 hours after.
It's at 2 o'clock Eastern.
So 1 o'clock my time. Yeah. So yeah. Don't worry about it, Rich. We'd love for you for the Zoom call. It'll be a fun day. So
yeah. So everyone is loving your slides, as I said. All right. Roberto asked a question about setting up a podcast. Paul shared our link. So yeah, we have a lot of details on how to start a podcast if you follow through on that link. We already answered Laura's question. Jeff, I hope you don't mind. I let Paul share the link to today's slides. So everyone now has access to the slides. Which I think is helpful, hopefully, for everyone. And we'll share more slides as we continue through.
I would love to know what people think about. This is the first time I've done with Gamma. If you like the way it worked. I love them.
So. I think that they came out great. I know. Maybe we put ourselves on it. I feel like I feel weird hanging behind the scenes of them. But that could just be me as a scrolling through. I know I had some questions.
Oh, there's a great. Can I bring some? I can bring some up.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, bring some up.
This is a great one. From.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask that one. Yeah, from Cozy Arts. Yep.
Too small. Yeah. So she asked.
We can read it. How many people?
How many people are you working with to create this level of engagement and organization? So this all started with just me. I just got my daughter in last year, maybe, to do some of the repurposing stuff. But you are able to do this by yourself if you have to. I have done it. You really have to set up the systems. That's why I really like Notion, because when you're doing stuff for clients, you're like, okay, who has what? Like, who does, where is the stuff set up? So like it having systems is the only way that you can really do it realistically, but you can do this all with one person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, like, what you were looking at right now is like quote unquote perfect. You're looking at the end result, right? So just remember that yours isn't going to start off that way, and yours may iterate. Like mine doesn't look anything like this. For what I'm doing, in many cases, it's like a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, notes. Like I'm making it work on like a shoestring budget for my personal project, and with a huge team for Ecamm. So it just depends on what your resources are and what your budget is and what works for you and for your brain. But and then a similar question coming from Rock and Real Estate, which is a great YouTube handle. Yeah, we have lots of people who are one band teams, and we have lots of people that are doing this with a huge production team. So it really just depends on what your resources are, what you're doing. But it is all of this is possible to do by yourself, but again, like not without a good system.
So, and really, one of the things and we talked a little bit about how giving people content where they want to consume it. And because when I started this way back, I was doing Google Plus live shows and they were out before all this happened. One of the things now with this tech, like we're using Restream, we're using Ecamm. Ecamm allows me to take, when I'm done with the show, I have Katie as a separate track. I have myself as a separate track. I have the completed track all blended together. And that allows me to repurpose things super super easy. Like I'm able to repurpose things into script, and we'll show you how to do that coming up. But yeah, the tech is here that you can go live one place and go to many, which for me, that when I was able to get, being able to go live to more than one place at one time and pull up comments, that was huge. And then when Ecamm did ISO tracks, I went out and bought a Max Silicone the next day, because being able to go and use that for repurposing, and I'll show you guys how to do that in the next couple of days using your transcripts and then those isolated tracks. Oh my gosh, it makes it so much easier. So the tech is there. So don't be too scared to play with things.
Awesome. Well, I think we've worked our way through all the questions. So we now have our keyword, our secret word left. So we're not going to say it. We're not going to say it because we're going to remove it from the comments. So just you folks who are hanging out with us here live today. But we do have one for every single day this week. So there's four chances to get bonus points. And if you're listening later on replay and you're insanely disappointed, this giveaway runs through, I believe, early next week. I think it ends on Monday next week. And you don't have to have these are just bonus entries. So you can still enter. You still have a chance of winning, even if you don't catch any of these secret words. Yeah. Paul just dropped it in the comments. So
I want to,
it's a hidden word.
Really quick, I wanted to do some kind of wrap up things. Like,
awesome.
If you haven't signed up for replays, do that now. You want to download the companion guide, which is jeffc.com/worksheet, and you want to join the Ecamm community, of course. I want you to try to implement one strategy this week as we go through the things, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow. But really quick, I want to do this to give people time to get that secret word and everything. So jeffc.com/worksheet. Let's talk about how to make this practical. So we talked about the content flywheel. So let's start building yours. And if you look at this worksheet in front of you, this is what you can do. So you can, what's your anchor content? Is it a live show, podcast, maybe YouTube videos? So write down the one format you can commit to showing up with regularly. And then who's your audience? Picture your ideal viewer or listener. Where do they hang out? Then think about one episode of your anchor content. What smaller pieces could you pull out of it? Then you want to know where those smaller pieces are going. This is your distribution loop. Jot down those platforms, and that will connect your pieces back to your anchor content. And then how are you going to keep this going? How do you keep the flywheel spinning? Maybe it's using templates. Maybe it's batch processing or batch recording or using tools like Ecamm or Agorapulse. So write down what the process could be that would make it easier for you. And then finally, how will you measure if it's working? Is it views, new subscribers, all that stuff? And then also down below the Build Your Content Flywheel worksheet, there's a thing about a content planning worksheet for you. So you can just, same thing, kind of work through those questions, figure out how you're going to do it. Think about your content buckets. Think about, evergreen versus trending. And then think of that ratio that's going to work. How much evergreen content does my subject matter really lend itself to? What's trending? And that can really help you kind of figure out what you want to do. And then, you take one action this week. What are you going to do this week after you get all this stuff? And I'll update this same document for every day, so you can keep the same link for tomorrow, and I'll just come in and I'll update the document that you'll be able to use. So there you go. I hope that was helpful.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was saying to you before we jumped on that my favorite part about doing these is that if I'm here with on video, then I have to stay and watch and I can't get distracted.
Yeah.
So I am with all of you. I'm going to work my way through. I am not nearly as organized as Jeff is. So I'm really excited about kind of putting a bunch of the thoughts I've had for a long time actually into an organized system to be able to help work a little bit more strategically. I tended to do things a little bit more on the fly than I really want to. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. I'm moving the car a little bit more towards organization, a little bit away from the last minute approach. So, cool. But I saw lots of you said that this workshop was really helpful. And again, we so appreciate all of the super chats and all of the kind comments. Keep those coming. And we can't wait to see everyone tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow we do some fun AI stuff and get in the nitty gritty. So ask your questions. I can pivot stuff as we go along. So if you have questions, make sure you drop them down below or send them in the community and we'll try to do that. So can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. Bye,
awesome.
everybody.
Bye.